In 2017, the weight gain after UFC 298 was made public. People who try to lose too much weight are being stopped by the California State Athletic Commission. One of the rules said that a fighter could only gain a certain amount of weight before the fight. A fighter could be told to move up to a heavier weight class by the commission if they gained more than 10% back before the fight. On paper, the commission had plans to stop fights at UFC 298 if a fighter gained more than 15%. 11 of the 24 fighters on the show got back more than 10% of what they lost before the fight, and 6 of them got back more than 15%. This is the full list that MMA writer Aaron Bronstad gave to X. The following list shows the weight gain by percentage. All of these are over 15%. Jeff Neal went from 17.5 lbs to 200.8 lbs. Volkanovski went from 144 to 166, and Merab Dvalishvili went from 135 to 156. Carlos Vero went from 135.5 to 158.3. Danny Barlow went from 171 to 197. Paulo Costa from 185 to 215, and Ilia Topuria from 144 to 167. Ian Gary only gained 10.6 lbs, going from 170 to 18.6. Henry Cejudo went from 135 to 11.5. Mackenzie Dern went from 115 to 127 lb, and Robert Whittaker went from 185 lb to 7.6 lb. Rafael Fiziev says that the UFC has been adding a 165-pound weight class for an extended time now. Fight fans have thought that the UFC needs to introduce a 165-pound division, with lightweight being placed at 155 lb and welterweight being at 170 lb. Some feel as if the 15-pound gap is too big in what feels like forever now. This has been little more than an idea, but as of late, it's starting to gain a bit of momentum. In a recent interview with Russian outlet Ushta, Rafael Fiv shared that he's heard this will come to reality sooner rather than later, saying, "This is not a rumor. This is already for sure. As far as I know, I heard that this is already true, and even though they have already fought, they even identified something there. I heard yes." Fiv was then asked for his thoughts about competing in the 165 pounds weight class, to which she replied, "I feel good. At 155 I ate pasta. During the week of the fight I ate, and fight week even before the weigh-in. I've never had any issue with this. I just out of discipline sat down well before, as I got a hold of it after the fight. Now the experience has already come where you can restrain yourself where you need to not get a hold of something for the night. You don't have to eat 10 Snickers. That's why it's become much easier to lose weight. In my last 4 fights I generally lose weight like this. That's why 165." Volkanovski says his next fight will 100% be the Ilia Topuria rematch. Alexander Volkanovski swears to get his belt back. In a recent video shared on his YouTube channel, Volkanovski thought about his UFC 298 loss to Ilia Topuria and promised he'd get his belt back. FKS said that he will now take some time off and that when he returns, his next fight will 100% be the repeat against Ilia Topuria.
Obviously disappointed, but at the same time, you know, it's just going to be a part of my story. I'm going to get some rest, and mark my words, I am getting that belt back. I'm going to do everything in my power. Obviously, I told you I'm going to have some rest, but when I do decide to get back in there, or when we do have a date, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I get that belt back here to me and my family. I'm going to do this, I've always done it for my family and supporters in Australia and whatnot. It ain't just going to be about that. I'm doing that for me. We've done a good job where we've set a standard for champions to want to be active. So if he wanted to be really active and have a quick turnaround, obviously I'm not going to do that because of my head. You want to take that serious, but my next fight will definitely 100% be the rematch.
Daniel Nate fired back to Daniel Cormier's comments earlier this week on social media, announcing plans to return for the UFC's event set to be held at the Las Vegas Sphere in September on his YouTube channel. Cormier mentioned the recent comments made by Diaz and admitted that he doesn't want to see him in the headlining act anymore until he's facing someone like Conor McGregor. DC also said that Diaz's best days are over and that he's not the boxer he used to be.
Respect Nate Diaz. I like Nate Diaz. But I believe that now it is time for us to start to be honest with ourselves so that Nate can start to be honest with himself. While the name value is exciting, Nate Diaz, the fighter, isn't that guy anymore. And he'll get mad at me and he might say something to me when I see him. I don't know. I don't really care. But we have to tell the truth. So I don't know that I need to see him main event the Sphere. Would I watch him fight on the pay-per-view card? Absolutely. Because most of these great guys from the past get that chance. But to be the headliner with all these great fighters that are deserving of that spot, I don't.
Of course, Diaz wasn't happy with these comments and fired back by sharing a photo of DC crying after his loss to John Jones, captioned, "This is not a fighter, it is the total opposite. Good talk, DC." Sean Strickland goes after Brendan Schaub again. B.R. Shaw crashed his truck during a crash earlier this month in an accident he caught on video. This happened while the former UFC fighter failed to show off his souped-up TRX for an episode of his YouTube show Tuntown.
Starting emergency call to the SOS service provided by the manufacturer. To cancel, press the SOS or cancel button. Starting SOS call.
Now Strickland has shared his unfiltered view regarding the situation, tweeting, "Why all? Did you see Brendan Shea flip his truck? The panic in that man's eyes, laughing my ass off. I've handled motorcycle wrecks going 80 better than you handled a roll in a truck, laughing my ass off. Maybe you should come hang out with me. I'll help you not be pussy." Ilia Topuria was given Spanish citizenship after becoming the UFC featherweight champion. Topuria met with Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, on Tuesday and brought the UFC belt with her. Sanchez shared a video on his social media, congratulating Poron on turning into the UFC champion, and also saying that Ilia will soon get Spanish citizenship.